Good morning, everybody. Windy City Thetan Watch. We're live here on the train.
Doors open on the left at Monroe.
Show you a little bit of the CTA train experience. You'll hear all the stops. I don't think my mic will isolate that, but good to see you all. If you're on the live, please remember to like, see if we can grow the audience, get some awareness here this morning. Today I want to talk a little morning bridge, morning girl. Ellie was in here first. Fuzzy Pink, good seeing you. I want to talk. Sorry. How loud is that in the mic, or does it isolate pretty well? Talk a little bit about all of the events that happened at the org, and then also talk about
Jackson is next.
Trashy. He was able to get to the police department before he went live. Well, at the beginning of his live yesterday. Very unsuccessful. The police department stonewalled him. I don't think that we're surprised by that. I do think that they did something illegal, or at least against policy, in not taking his FOIA request. So if you were paying attention yesterday, and when I say paying attention, that sounds demeaning. I'm a terrible old guy, and I say bad words all the time. If you were tuned in yesterday, you would have seen that. This is a blue line train to Forest Park. By the way, we're not going to Forest Park.
Doors closing.
Next stop will be ours. And this way, if there's anybody passing out flyers on the platform, I'll be ready for them. I don't think they're going to be there this early in the morning. That's more of a midday activity. So Trashy went to the police department, wanted to file a complaint against Sergeant Snyder. They wouldn't take that complaint. They said, hey, it's okay if our officers are pricks. We don't mind. That's not complainable. Now, I do think it's complainable, and it's definitely something we'll bring up with COPA. COPA's probably just going to have to shuffle it right back in internal affairs. The train gets loud here because we're going around a corner, and the wheels kind of screech along the rails more here. Thanks, Bridge. Stop yelling at me. You're not the boss of me. I'll do what I want. Then he said, okay, I want to do a FOIA request. And they said, we don't take FOIA requests here. And FOIA requests are taken by any governmental office. They have to be able to take them. It's part of what their responsibilities are in that space. So I'm pretty sure that we can file a complaint there. And sorry, you know what? And since that noise is overwhelming to me, and I apologize that I'm quiet when that happens, because I assume that you're hearing the same thing. I'm guessing that mics these days are able to isolate that sound, so you're not getting crushed by that. But we're at the LaSalle Street Station. If you also go over to Trashy's, I think I saw it on the community post last night. Well, he was up late last night. If you look on his community page, I think that he's figured out a way to that there's a violation of the person who's got the police uniform or the pseudo police uniform on inside there. Yeah, so typically what happens here is the blue line goes between O'Hare and Forest Park. And as you get into the city, everybody dumps off. And if you go through the city, it becomes really, I mean, everybody gets their own seat, and it's very nice. What I didn't show you on there is the blue line and the red line are 24-hour lines. So homeless people have a tendency to stake a few seats, and that's how they get their sleep at night. Thank you, Suppressive Squirrel. Let's see, where was that? Oh, and there's, he found a citation that says you can't impersonate a police officer, and I don't know how far they'll go with it, but it's sort of like, we need to lodge every complaint because we understand that Scientology is incredibly petty, and they're going to lodge every complaint. And not that I want to say, let's get the police in the city just sick and tired of us. I want Scientology to know that we're not afraid to lodge complaints against them. The other thing, if you saw last night, and Trashy and SRA are just doing an outstanding job. And Trashy has, cojones de largesse. That we saw the guy throwing out garbage last night, so we ran around back, and Trashy went in their trash container, which is fair game. It's in a public alley, so that's no longer their property once it hits the garbage can. You know what? The first thing I want to do tonight or this morning is I'm going to go around back, and I want to see if they've already put a chain on the garbage can for that. Because my every expectation is nice. Sorry, I'm reading bridge. Stop reading while you're walking. I told Trashy, I said, I bet they're at Home Depot right now buying whatever chains of protection they can to keep that garbage can locked up. So, and I know I've got the camera still front facing. Now there is a car at the back door. I'm going to turn the camera around, so just a second. You no longer get to see my ugly face. And yes, I'm self-deprecating. I don't think I'm ugly. Let's go with dual wide. So there's a passenger vehicle, right, a sedan, and that's pretty much at the Scientology back door. So we'll see what that's all about. But they were able to get into the garbage can, rummage around. They found a lot of paperwork. So I bet they will. We're going to investigate that right now. By the end of the week, I bet 100%. Tonight, I don't know if they will right now. And absolutely, right? But hey, they need to get their 110 hours in somehow. And there's, looks like it's just a cigarette. There's a guy smoking down at the end of the alley. One of the things that we think that I apologize. I keep saying we. This is all Trashy, 100% Trashy, and he did a great job. So, oh, look who left their back door open. E977785. So let's see what we can see in here today. See the registrar for the correct book or service for you. Oh, did you see the little girl there? Oh, another little girl. Right? Isn't this dreadful? Dreadful. But we're pretty sure some of the paperwork shows who the people from Flag were. So that's the third child. I haven't seen an adult in here yet. Oh yeah. Thank you. I'm well back. And they've got cameras here too, so I would be able to petition that. And now we're seeing adults walk in. I'll say that I got a curious glance from the one person. I'm sure they'll be back here soon enough. Not sure where the person in the passenger vehicle went to. Not ship shape. We got to be better about this. Are you having a good day at the cult? Oh, it's very funny. So I know you guys can't see it because it's too small, but a little rat just ran into the garbage can that they were in last night. So the waste management right here with the arched um, top is where we found the treasure trove of documents. The other thing that was a little bit interesting was, remember what, 2 nights ago, which is the reason that Trashy went to the police department, the cop came out and cop explained to us that, hey, we can't follow people closely, which I'm going to say is bullshit. We've never been, Trashy is the most respectful person out here. I've never really gotten close to anybody. I never approach anybody quickly. I just don't want to give anybody a fear reaction in regards to what's going on there. Well, one of the Sea Org members, and I keep on saying Sea Org members, it could easily be just a staff member. I don't know that answer, but a younger looking fella came out and he kind of followed them all the way down here. So they went around 2 corners and crossed the street with this guy following them. And with that, I kept on walking behind the guy and saying, are you stalking them? Are you following them? That's against the law. You can't do that. So I think that we've got good footage that shows we can lodge a complaint against them that, hey, we fear for our lives as well, right? That this Sea Org member very suspiciously followed us for a long time, right? Much longer than any of us follow. Like we'll walk halfway down the block with somebody. I thought it was very funny that one of the police officers said, well, you're following them to their cars. I said, they don't have cars. What are you talking about? They're walking across the street. Very bright, sunny day here today. So lovely, warm. It rained a little bit this morning. I think we're gonna get some rain this afternoon as well. And if you guys could hit an electric switch every time I say I would appreciate it. I want to get better about that. It's just really, really pretty. Chicago in the spring is awesome. Chicago in the summer is awesome. There are those days where it's 90 degrees and 90%. Those can be a little bit challenging. So the alley that garbage can is in is not a private alley. It is 100% public. Now, I'm fairly confident the alley that they were kicked out of on opening day is also a public alley. But again, one of the things that I want us to start doing, and this is kind of First Amendment, or the auditor, 1A auditor type stuff, is ask the officer if they're going to arrest you, and under threat of arrest, you'll retreat, because the threat of arrest is enough to violate, especially if it's an unlawful request, is enough to get the civil rights violation, and then file the 1983. Now, again, you file the 1983, you need to have an expensive, you need to have money or a lawyer that just has a bent against the org, because it gets to be expensive in those spaces. But for the most part, you want the yeah, I agree that it's. Let's just say this: they were lying. There's no 2 ways about that. So, oh, you know what? When we looked in the back, I think they already had the blinds closed. Somebody will have to go back and scrub that real quick to see, but I'm pretty comfortable that they would have been closed, and that makes sense because right now the org is not open yet. I can't see the clock on my watch, but the org doesn't open until 9:30. So most of what should be happening here is staff. Now, I'll say it's rather surprising that we saw all of those children in civilian clothing in there, but I don't think that horses or the public are really in there before 9:30. Good day at the cult? Is it good to be protecting criminals? So he was the one that was in the back alley. That's the same license plate that was in the back alley. Let me see if he takes a right-hand turn and goes back to the alley. But I think that if he came out the front door, he was probably done with his business here, and maybe he was dropping off those kids. Excellent. Yeah, so they stole my valor, robbed me of the opportunity to have them pull the blinds down. There was another interesting element. It wasn't Scientology related, but we've got the imprint next door, and so the order of events really was Trashy goes to the police department. SRA starts out here. After Trashy is done at the police department, he comes back here. That police department is about 6 blocks away, so it's not that long of a walk. And it's even shorter if you're skateboarding. So they got back here. I would say it was mildly uneventful. We were just watching people. They were just watching people come in and out. At some point, sorry, I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. I want it to come down. At some point, there was a fire call, and when the firemen left the truck, there were 2 claims. One was that there was a smell of gas, and I'm going to say, hey, bullshit. If there was a smell of gas, why have they not evacuated the building? So let's kind of get that shit straight. Man, I should watch my language more. Let's get that straight. That it couldn't have been a gas leak, or they would have evacuated the building, or they're just that stupid. Then they claimed it was somebody stuck in an elevator. They were only in for 6 minutes, so it might have been somebody stuck in an elevator, and they were able to extract them from it. But I have a feeling it was just a false call in that space. The fireman comes out, and the fireman is kind of pointing at SRA, saying, "Hey, you can't video us." And it's like, "You're in public. Suck it up, Buttercup." And then I believe there was contact. I didn't see the contact, but since there was contact, I absolutely think that we have to file that complaint as well, on that process. When I saw that, I was already home that night, so I very quickly came home, or came down here, because I wanted to make sure we had extra cameras in case things started escalating. Good day at the cult. Good to protect the child abusers. Yeah, with that, we have enough information to the FOIA request, so it's likely that we'll be able to get, well, I don't know if firemen do body cameras, but on the police officer the night before, where, they were called here because of a BOM something and a mass pew-pew, we should be able to get that. Now, it takes a while to, we've made the request. It takes a while to get that request. So after the fire department left, I decided, hey, come down here. I just wanted extra cameras on the guys in case things would escalate. And as soon as I arrived on screen, there was a domestic issue across the street at Imprint. And thanks, Andy. And again, that's all Trashy. I don't want to steal their valor or anything. That's all Trashy and SRA. I was just the guy watching the front door at the time. There probably were 7 or 8 SUVs, 10 to 12 officers. They came down. Most of them were smiling at the end of it. And I don't mean that to be smirky or anything like that, hey, it was a good experience. Nothing bad happened. And there was no ambulance. So, the good news is it's very unlikely that anybody was injured over there due to pew-pew violence. So that was, some excitement. And then it was pretty much, a couple of people would come in, a couple of people would go out. And finally, we saw the guy going out the back door with a garbage bag over his shoulder. And it's like, oh, cool, he's going to go throw that out. So we went around back very quickly. We caught the guy throwing the garbage out. Again, Trashy, kudos to him. He got dirty. he was a trash panda, and he was able to recover some documents. One thing to remember, that alley, earlier in this video, you'll have seen that I was in the alley. The alley is public. Once waste goes to the alley, it's free game. So there were no law violations. I will say that when the guy came around front, I think that he was on, I don't know if you could have heard him. I had my other mic, but I tried to keep a respectful distance. That's a good point. We should at least look to see if there's reports. And I've got to stop highlighting comments, interrupting my stories. When SRA came by, SRA was ahead of Trashy when he came here, and he said, hey, there's a guy following us. So I made sure that I kept a camera on that guy. And as he passed me, he mentioned Trashy's full legal name. So, you know, they absolutely have that, but I would have expected no less on that particular process. And I'm guessing that he was on the phone with the police. Now, what he said is that they stole, you know, said something to the effect of they stole something. So what I did is I tried to talk pretty loudly and say, they took something out of a garbage can in public space. So that was that part. Then as we kept on walking down, right, you've got, they walked up the street to Harrison. They crossed the street. This guy crossed against the light. That's how much he wanted to. Yeah. So it depends on how you set up. If you set up your account and maybe you use an email of yours, or you know you're not using 2 or 3 obscure layers, they're going to find out pretty fast. I'm pretty comfortable they have my information. Again, I'm not as big as those other channels, but I'm pretty comfortable they have my information. I'm not altogether worried about it, but I just kind of want to protect it from, you know, other potential dangers that might be there. So when I caught up to him on the other side of Harrison, he said, "What do you want me to do?" So I assumed the "what do you want me to do" was more with the staff inside the org. And when I got back here, we've talked about the guy that kind of looks like Sean, but I think he looks like the guy that ate Sean. He's just bigger than that, you know, more well-built. He's the one that tried to lure me away when they had the college recruiters here. He's the one that he'll tilt his head if we talk to him, but he won't really say anything. He was also on the phone, so I don't know if it was a link between those two, or if it was a link between, you know, he's calling OSA, or if he's calling the police. But he was definitely on the phone when I got back here. The overwhelming majority of the 2 chats was, hey guys, maybe you need to get out of the area for right now. And that was fine. Now, I do want to say that I've got the evidence that shows they were in danger. They were being followed. And I do want them to report that, right? And I do think they will report that. Oh, skateboard guy's here. Good day at the cult? I understand, Prezino. You come plenty, and I know it's a ride for you. Because that's precisely the theme that they accused us of, right? You know, it's very possible that he's a new face here. He was not somebody that we saw up in Chicago. Oops, sorry. Up in Chicago, we're pretty sure that Brianna was the ED. I don't know if when they fired back, you know, new gen level 3 regeneration of org and awesomeness, golden age of crap, if they took over those higher positions or not. Dempsey, I would say that's a true statement. However, if you watch the March 28th, the policeman came out and said, you don't have to threaten them. All you have to do is put a camera in their face. Now, number one, we've never put a camera in anybody's face, but the officer, if the officer is going to tell us that and that we have to behave that way, you're darn well sure we're going to make sure that Scientology behaves that same way. And when the police don't persecute or prosecute them on those stages, then that's just another line of misconduct. And darn it, what happens when you prosecute one person, not the other? I think it's just prosecutorial misconduct, right? Wow, we're we're full up. It must be so. Is Natalie not live yet? It's awesome to see the number in here, and I appreciate that. Let's see here. What was I talking about? Oh, I do think that we have to be as petty as Scientology is in regards to if they're going to call us on Tic Tac laws and accusations of Tic Tac laws, which we actually haven't broken. I want to make sure that we're able to do the same for them. So. Yeah, and there is no way in the world not to think it's double standards. And I don't, I do not have any form of a direct line, but there has to be some benefit to the reason that the police are protecting the organization and supporting the organization. And maybe it's a direct cash line. Maybe it's I'm going to donate to a a girls and boys club. I'm going to donate to an alcoholic program in your name or in the police department's name. Those are ways where you can disconnect the direct quid pro quo in these situations. Now, what I would say is if we gather enough information of this nature, it's possible that we could have a journalist start doing an expose on it. I think that most mainstream media is still a little bit afraid of the organization. They're unaware that the organization has lost a lot of their power. So 100%. And without money, the church really struggles. I I want to be a stat crusher, right? That my goal is not to extricate people from the church. My goal is to help people understand that they should not join the church. And I want to make it as hard as possible for them to continue to recruit. Because I think that their tactics are potentially slightly legal or whatever the case may be, but 100% unethical. And then once you get to the point of you've now brainwashed, and I know that people think, oh yeah, brainwash, you can't do that. If you get told something enough, you're going to believe that thing. Can you tell me anything positive about the church? Is there anything positive about the church? You're going to go join your 8 roommates? Excellent. Thank you so much, Rich. And I don't know, like I said, the guys got home pretty late. I know they stayed up. They probably looked at the documents. I saw that as late as midnight, Trashy had posted the uniformed officer, the officer that had the police label across his chest as a security guard inside here. I'm not sure if they made clips and sent those to Natalie. And unfortunately, the night before, Trashy just started using a new software, and the way that software works is by default, when your live is done, it goes to private. So while I made the clip during the live and sent that to Natalie, by the time it got to Natalie, the clip was already private. So hopefully she's able to show that this morning. I usually go through her show notes just to see if those things are in there. Hey, Nance, how you doing? Hope you're feeling better. 100%. You know, if we think about it, protest is probably the wrong word. Audit is a closer word to really what I want to do um, in this process. So I want to continue showing. I want to continue showing that there are children just running around inside the org, right? Why is that? Because everything happens behind closed doors, it's very hard for us. Morning, no carb. That because everything happens behind closed doors, we can no longer see the purification rundown. We can no longer see some of these other travesties that occur in there. And I'm sure that they can run through, explain away why these children are just running around undirected or unsupervised by their parents, right? So maybe it's as much a daycare as it is a church. Now, it's still, it's interesting through my logical mind, and maybe that's what we need to discuss. How are there children in there if they're at all related to staff members of Sea Org? Because that becomes a drain on resources that can't go to the church. If the children need to be babysat while the adults are taking classes, then that's taking those staff workers away from some other job. It's a little bit puzzling to me, and I don't know how it all fits together. Why there are children in civilian clothes in there before they open at 9:30, right? And it might be 9:30 now, but it's rather odd that. And by the way, I hope nobody took that I think children are burdens, but I do know that children are not free. Yeah, we think that's what the process was the other night when we saw the mother and the two kids. Now, she came out of the org 2 or 3 times on her own. Once to do a smoke break. We caught her in the alley. She came around, went to her car. And then another time earlier in the evening, she came out and was digging around in the back seat of her car for something. I had no idea what that was. She definitely doesn't want to be on camera. She tries to avoid the camera as much as possible in that process. All right, let me see what time it is. Okay, so it is just after, it's 9:38, so it's just after opening. Really haven't seen any public on the street. Didn't see that many staff members either. Yeah, so, oops, sorry. I remember hearing this from several people recently that are ex and second gen. So that, can you hold on for 1 second? I need to check something on one of my other cameras. I'll be right back. I'm going to turn off my camera and my mic. Hey folks, I've got a bit of an issue at home. I'm gonna have to cut this short, so let's say go over to Natalie and I will run home and come back as quickly as I can. Thank you.